want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Not even a pesky pandemic can stop us from partaking once more in the joy and magic of the Christmas season. And I, for one, prefer to look at the bright side of having to modify our holiday plans around the coronavirus. You don't have to fight with anyone at Best Buy over buying your kids a PlayStation 5. You don't have to argue over politics with your grandparents at the dinner table. And we've got plenty of streaming services offering some Yuletide cheer from the safety of our homes. But even with all the new holiday specials streaming out there, let us not forget the tried and true holiday classics that we watch every November and December. Specifically, the 1990 family comedy that celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, the one and only Home Alone. In the 30 years since Kevin McAllister first defeated the Wet Bandits, Home Alone has become as synonymous with the Christmas season as Charlie Brown, The Grinch, and Harold and Kumar, with its sequel Lost in New York also becoming a holiday favorite, despite its awkward cameo from our future president, Cliff the security guard.
It's a lie!
But as those who've seen my review of Home Alone 4 will know, this franchise did not stand a chance after losing the smart-ass charisma of Macaulay Culkin. And this should have been apparent after the failure of the first of its 3 Culkin-less sequels in 1997, with Home Alone 3. When screenwriter John Hughes and director Chris Columbus were developing the second Home Alone, they were planning on also filming a third Home Alone at the same time. But after those plans fell through, Hughes would revive the idea for a third Home Alone a few years later. And with the now teenage Macaulay Culkin growing tired of acting and deciding to focus on high school, Hughes now had to write Home Alone 3 around a new wisecracking little kid fending off a new band of bumbling thieves while being left home alone. And with Chris Columbus being replaced in the director's chair by the editor of the first 2 movies, Raja Gosnell, it's safe to say that the future director of the SMURFS 2 and Show Dogs was not up to the task, as Home Alone 3 would be given a nail through the foot by the critics and have its hair burnt off by low box office, with John Hughes more or less retiring from the movie business afterwards, and the future Home Alone movies heading straight to TV. But after having spent the last couple of Christmases suffering through 2 abysmal sequels to classic John Hughes Christmas comedies, I shall find out if John Hughes himself had left this series behind on a somewhat higher note. And although other certain YouTube critics might be able to book Macaulay Culkin himself for their Home Alone reviews, Awfully Good Movies will do them one better with our special guest for this Home Alone 3 review, the cremated ashes of the late John Hurd. Mr. Hurd, it is an honor having you on my show. I can't believe my luck. Oh no! I killed John Hurd! Again!
Look what you did, you little jerk!
Guys, I'm drinking booze and watching a rubbish movie. You better come out and stop me before we put the wet in Wet Bandits by playing the awfully good drinking game. Take a double shot for the one and only time you're gonna hear the classic Home Alone theme by John Williams over the opening title card, as we open our film not in the suburbs of Chicago, but rather the exotic metropolis of Hong Kong, where the head of a North Korean terrorist group is ordering a spy named Peter Beaupre to steal a microchip for them that will allow their missiles to go undetected on radar.
Not a plan, but the chip itself. Whoever possesses this chip could dominate the entire region.
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe I've made a mistake. This must be the opening to the James Bond holiday special, because it sure as hell doesn't feel like the opening to a Home Alone movie. Unless, of course, this movie will involve the government enlisting Kevin McAllister's tactical mastery of traps to save the world from nuclear annihilation by throwing a paint can at Kim Jong-un. But no. The actual plot is far stupider than that, as Beaupre and his gang of spies hide this stolen microchip inside of a remote-controlled toy car.
We'll slip it right past airport security.
I'll take things you'd never be able to do after 9/11 for 500, Alex. And just as the spies get the RC car through airport security, they're held up by some dumbass who forgot to take her jewelry off at the metal detector, while an elderly lady accidentally mistakes the spy's bag for her bag. And you know what? I'm starting to suspect that John Hughes just might have watched Dumb and Dumber right before writing this script.
It has to be on a plane.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
We are going to Chicago.
So after the spies track down the elderly lady's location in the Chicago suburbs with the help of their high-tech computers, we meet the boy who will be taking over as this sequel's young hero, Alex Pruitt, played by the similarly named Alex D. Linz. And yes, I know I referred to him as the Liar Liar Kid in my Home Alone 4 review. The Liar Liar Kid, which was wrong. The Liar Liar Kid actually starred in another terrible sequel to a John Hughes family comedy, while this kid went on to become Max Keeble's Big Move, and the kid from Home Alone 4 went on to do Who Gives a Fuck. Now moving on, young Alex is earning some money by plowing the snow out of the driveway of the aforementioned old lady who lives across the street from him. And before any of you think this movie's gonna turn out to be the origin story of Old Man Marley, I must inform you that this elderly lady, Mrs. Hess, will actually be this sequel's equivalent to Old Man Marley / the Pigeon Lady. But where those two characters were actually really nice people who were simply misunderstood, Mrs. Hess is in fact a genuine Elmira Gulch level old biatch.
There'll be no charge, Mrs. Hess.
So you can tell the neighborhood I stiffed you on a snow removal job? So silly, inconsiderate boob who took my bag. I left my bread in San Francisco.
And while you're still puzzling over that inexplicable reference to a Tony Bennett song, Mrs. Hess pays off Alex with the RC car she mistakenly took at the airport, and the boy heads home to the rest of the fake McAllister family, where not only do Alex's mom and dad look like the alternate universe versions of Catherine O'Hara and John Hurd, but his brother literally has the same spiky haircut and messy room that Buzz McAllister had. And his snarky sister is Scarlett Johansson, the little girl who would later grow up to be the star of such classics as The Nanny Diaries, The Spirit, and We Bought a Zoo? Why the hell couldn't we have a 12-year-old Black Widow dispensing with these bad guys instead? When Alex decides to investigate the itch that's been developing on his chest, the boy discovers he's come down with a disease that hits most kids sooner or later: body herpes, or as it's better known, the chicken pox.
Alex slammed the toilet seat down on his thing again.
I gotta go. My kid slammed the toilet seat on this thing again.
Mother of God, Mr. Toilet Man has struck once again! I need that baby! So now Alex must stay home from school the next few days while his mother works from home to take care of her sick son. And while the concepts of quarantining yourself with a disease and working from home are well familiar to us in the year of 2020, I'm not as familiar with the idea of a Home Alone movie that apparently does not revolve around Christmas. Because even though Home Alone 1 and 2 are synonymous with the holidays, John Hughes has decided that the third Home Alone should instead take place right after Christmas, as evidenced by the decorations that are still visible on the houses and the casual references to Christmas in the dialogue.
Christmas trees.
Not this Christmas, but last Christmas.
They invite me into their house for a holiday eggnog? Well, of course not.
Now, I'm not saying that a movie franchise which originally revolved around the holidays can't successfully work without the Christmas angle. It certainly worked for Die Hard 3 and Gremlins 2, of which Home Alone 3 happens to share a cast member. However, the posters for Home Alone 3 specifically touted its release date of Christmas. Don't get people's hopes up for another Christmas-related Home Alone movie when it hardly involves Christmas at all. Or better yet, don't fucking make another Home Alone movie. Just save us all some trouble. And while Kevin was left home alone after wishing for his family to disappear, Alex Pruitt is left home alone through the far less dramatic device of his mother having to go to her office for a few hours to prepare a big presentation.
I'll be gone an hour at the very most.
What do I do if there's a tornado?
They don't happen in winter.
Social unrest?
Oh wait, social unrest? What the hell is this kid planning on? Holy shit, he's found a sniper rifle under his brother's bed? This kid is gonna go out and pull a Charles Whitman out on the streets of Chicago. Forget all those jokes about Kevin McAllister growing up to become the Jigsaw Killer, because this kid is well on his way to becoming the fucking Joker.
Gotcha.
Actually, Alex passes the time by using his telescope to survey his next-door neighbors, alongside his pet mouse, Doris, while wearing a Darth Vader helmet in the hopes of being that little shit Jake Lloyd for that Anakin Skywalker role. And Alex finds Beaupre breaking into a house across the street looking for the toy car, as his fellow spies walk on the streets looking out for any authorities. And after Alex calls the cops on them, Beaupre and his cohorts make their getaway.
Freeze!
Guys, you do realize this is the John Wick residence, right? Don't even think about it! So after Alex receives a stern lecture from Officer the janitor from Scrubs, his mother decides to finally call up a babysitter. No, of course she doesn't. She leaves Alex home alone again the next day, while Alex's dad heads off to the airport for a business trip.
Dad, got your wallet?
Yeah, it's in my pocket.
Where's your pocket?
Oh, what's the big deal with coming into work without your pants on? Christopher Reeve's son did it on Good Morning America, and he got to keep his job. Jeffrey Toobin, on the other hand, not so much. And just like fucking clockwork, Alex uses his telescope to find Beaupre breaking into another house, again. He calls the cops on them just as they disappear, again. And his parents come home to find their son has called in another false alarm. Are we sure this is a sequel to Home Alone and not fucking Groundhog Day?
This is the second time in 2 days that you've called the police. It's a very serious matter when a person calls the police.
By the way, my favorite band of all time is The Police. And my favorite song of all time is NWA's Fuck the Police. I'm sorry, son. I have a medical condition that forces me to end all my sentences with the words, the police. And it's called diabetes. Now, although most of John Hughes' scripts during the 90s were just different variations on the Home Alone formula, you would hope that Hughes would put a little more work into his final script for an actual Home Alone movie, especially since he has a whole new cast of characters to make the audience invest in. But I don't give a single damn about any of these people. And the problems start at the top with our new child hero, Alex D. Linz. This kid may be likable enough and a decent enough actor for his age, but he's just a run-of-the-mill 8-year-old boy who would be better suited voicing Linus on a Charlie Brown special.
I didn't recognize anybody but the dog. He looked just like Johnny Allen's dog, so I called the police.
I can't believe him setting up ingenious traps like I could with Kevin McAllister, let alone setting up a video surveillance system attached to the back of his RC car. Sure, an 8-year-old would be able to do this nowadays with just a drone, but using a VHS camera that broadcasts through a rickety analog TV back in 1997?
I don't think so.
As for our new gang of bad guys, they cannot lift a crowbar up to the hilarious bickering between the original Wet Bandits. Aside from their leader Beaupre, we've got Earl Unger, the smart ass of the group, who's like if Sam Rockwell was played by a long-haired Sacha Baron Cohen.
Tomorrow, whack every kid in the neighborhood, burn them all, and look for that stupid car.
We've got Burton Jernigan, who's played by the orchid-growing agoraphobic from Twin Peaks. And we've got Alice Ribbons, who happens to be the very first female villain of the Home Alone franchise. So you can suck on that broken glass ceiling, Missy Pyle. Although these four are very good character actors whom you've seen in dozens of movies and shows, none of them are as adept in comedic slapstick as Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern were, even as the movie tries hard to have them emulate the Three Stooges.
I'm heading to work.
And while it made sense that two low-level thieves like Harry and Marv were complete morons in dealing with this kid, these spies are awfully moronic for some alleged masters of espionage. Whether it's being unable to spot an RC car jumping over their heads, being distracted by a TV which is playing the third installment of the Angels with Filthy Souls franchise, Angels with Filthy Souls presents Hobbs and Shaw, or mistaking the voice of a parrot for that of a woman, when Alex uses his brother's wisecracking talking parrot to pose as his mother over the phone.
Hello, this is Karen. Hi, how's it going?
Oh no, the mother's name is Karen? Well, no wonder her son loves to call the police so much. Like mother, like son. Let me speak to your manager. Ah! So after Alex discovers the microchip inside of his toy car, and the spies discover the boy's identity and address, the time has come for Alex to give himself an inspirational pep talk before facing off against the bad guys. Just like Kevin did in Home Alone, because that's how sequel.
So what do I do? If that means hide, you're wrong. If that means fight, you're right.
You know what? If you lower the pitch of this kid's voice, this speech would work perfectly as Rambo's final monologue at the end of Last Blood. After all, that movie did owe more than a few debts to Home Alone.
They'll understand when I'm done. They'll know I was telling the truth. I'm not gonna cry or feel sad or scared. This is my neighborhood and this is my house. No matter how old they are, no matter how big they are, they can't beat me here. They can't beat me at home. This is Peter McAllister, the father.
So now on to our final act, where Alex finally sets up the complex traps that he'll use on the bad guys. And instead of the trap-setting montage being set to John Williams' whimsical yet suspenseful music score, Home Alone 3 uses a generic-as-fuck pop-punk song that sounds like the Kids Bop version of every other alternative rock hit released during the 90s.
This is my town. Watch your step if you come around. Put your finger to the canvas. Show me in succession. This is my home. You climb a river and drown the whole world. Be ready to see hell. And
And although Alex's mom finally has the good sense to call over Mrs. Hess to babysit her kid for a bit, Hess is stopped from coming over after Alice poses as a neighbor looking for a package that was delivered to the wrong house.
Why are you closing the door?
I left my heart in San Francisco.
Okay, for real, movie, if you don't stop with the Tony Bennett references, then I'm gonna have Lady Gaga come over on his behalf and kick your ass cheek to ass cheek. As for the traps themselves, they are at least better than the ones which were in Home Alone 4. But that's only because John Hughes has recycled many of these gags verbatim from the last two movies. Someone gets electrocuted so hard that their hair stands up. Two of the thugs have a barbell fall onto their heads. One of them falls through a floor that's had a hole cut into it. We have seen it before.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly!
And now we're seeing it again.
Sorry, Charlie.
But to his credit, Kevin McAllister would not have gone as far as Alex does when he has one of the baddies' heads meeting the front end of a motherfucking lawnmower. Holiest of shits. Surely that guy's brains ended up splattering over the walls, or he just ends up getting a stupid looking buzz cut. Sure, makes total sense he survived that. And the movie's descent into unfunny cartoon antics rolls on, with the crooks suffering plenty of abuse to both their balls and their assholes, with a couple of toilet-related gags thrown in for good measure. Excuse me, sir, I know Joe Dirt. Joe Dirt happens to be a friend of mine, and you, sir, are no Joe Dirt. This sequel truly feels like the Mega Bloks to the first two movies' Legos, in that they're the cheaper and less fun alternative which you'll quickly grow bored of and never play with again. Meanwhile, Alex's mom is unable to get home right away thanks to a giant snowstorm spreading over Chicago. And this is when the FBI swoops in to inform Mrs. Pruitt that she will be sent to jail for her negligent parenting, while her son is sent to juvie and her daughter is sent to become a top agent for S.H.I.E.L.D. Again, just kidding!
We think he intercepted a top-secret electronic device stolen from a Defense Department contractor by a group of international criminals working for a North Korean terrorist organization.
And it was upon realizing the stupidity of that line of dialogue that John Hughes stopped writing his screenplay and walked up from his chair to the ocean outside his beachfront home, where he waded into the water and let the tide take him out to the endless sea. Back at home, Alex makes his getaway with the microchip in his hands, with Unger and Jernigan chasing after the boy by jumping onto a trampoline, and Alice being tricked into thinking he's inside the dumbwaiter. And I'll give you folks one guess as to how things turn out for these three. They do not go well, and the same can be said for this very film. And just as Alex comes to save the unconscious Mrs. Hess in her garage, Beaupre gets the jump on the boy and demands he give him the microchip.
Give me the chip.
It doesn't belong to you. It's not yours.
Oh yeah, now the movie's starting to grow some balls. Shoot that little kid! Shoot that little kid!
That's not your gun. This is your gun.
Oh, fuck! The kid's got the gun now? Well, that's even better! Shoot him in the dick! Shoot him in the dick!
Gotcha.
Aw, damn it, it was just a bubble gun. Come on, movie, can't you kill at least one person? Preferably the director before he goes on to make Beverly Hills Chihuahua? So while Alex and Mrs. Hess have their narratively mandated bonding session together, the FBI finally arrives to take away the defeated shitty bandits. You get it? Instead of the sticky bandits, it's the shitty bandits, because one of them had bathed in shit.
But you're a hero.
This is very cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
By the way, how is it that North Korea got mad at our country for portraying them badly in Team America and The Interview, and yet Home Alone 3 portrays them as being able to hire only the dumbest fucking spies in the world to retrieve their missile chip, and they don't seem to mind that? Even Dennis Rodman would have had a better shot at getting this microchip than these four morons. But hey, perhaps the film can redeem itself at the very end. After all, we remember how touching those endings were to the first two, reminding us of the kindness and generosity that lies at the heart of the Christmas holiday. Well, fuck that noise, because this ending has Alex's dad coming home to give his son the very same RC car which caused so much trouble. Oh, wonderful, we've learned absolutely nothing!
Gentlemen, start your engine.
You know what? That is funny. Especially when you realize that when North Korea hears their microchip retrieval was stopped by an 8-year-old boy, they're gonna hire a shadowy assassin to come over to his house and shoot the boy dead in cold-blooded retribution.
Bullseye.
Keep the change.
You motherfucker, you.
One of the original plans that John Hughes had for Home Alone 3 was to replace Macaulay Culkin with his brother Kieran in the role of Fuller, which, considering how Kieran would become a big star in his own right, could have turned out great. But without Fuller on board, it's John Hughes who ends up laying the bed here instead, with a bland and recycled script that literally feels like something he wrote in his sleep. Sure, Home Alone 4 was the very bottom of the barrel, but at least it made me feel something, while Home Alone 3 is like eating cardboard and ice cubes for 100 minutes. I'll give it credit for having some kind of production value and a not entirely bad performance from its lead star, but it's truly a sad end for John Hughes' largely great career that you shouldn't bother watching alongside its superior predecessors this holiday season. And I'm not that optimistic for the upcoming Home Alone reboot coming next Christmas to Disney+, even if it does star the kid who played Yorkie in Jojo Rabbit, as well as Macaulay Culkin, reprising the role of Kevin McAllister? Well, that news just enlarges my shriveled heart at the end of this horrible year. There is still some hope left for Christmas 2021, baby! And on the nudity watch, there is a little bit of suggested boobage from a cardboard lady that Alex uses in one of his traps. Also, aside from future hottie Scarlett Johansson, the actress who plays Alice Ribbons, Raya Kilstead, is fairly easy on the eyes. I wouldn't be surprised if she ever auditioned for Catwoman, after seeing her impressive gymnastic skills and the strangely erotic way in which she ties Mrs. Hess to a chair.
I certainly hope that you're not fond of that little boy across the street.
Well, great, now I just want to watch Batman Returns again. Probably because it's a sequel that legitimately has more to do with Christmas than Home Alone 3 does. On the enjoyableness continuum scale from Beau to Bruce, Home Alone 3 is what the French would call les incompetents, which translates into a less bad John Hughes sequel than Christmas Vacation 2, and travels with John Candy's polka band all the way to a 3 out of 10.
Terrible Home Alone sequel? You got it.
I'm Jesse Shade for JoBlo.com, and thanks to all of you for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the JoBlo Videos channel, tell your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our newest videos. We are an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support. And don't you worry, my second holiday special for this year will be on a genuine Christmas movie, and it won't be Home Alone 5.